class. Today we're going to start with Chapter 2, Fractions. We're going to go through how to multiply, divide, add, and subtract fractions, okay? So notice I have this shaded area here and a non-shaded area, and we have 5 portions. So how many portions of this area is colored? That would be 3, right? And there's 5 portions in total, so that would be 3/5. There's 3 shaded parts and 5 total parts. The fraction 3/5 implies an area equal to 3 of the 5 total parts. So another way to write that would be 3 times 1/5. There are 3 equal parts and the name of each part is 1/5. The fraction 3/5, the top number is called the numerator. That's called the numerator. And the bottom part is the denominator. This part is the denominator. Okay? So, let's look at an example. If a book costs $6, and remember, always write down everything when it's a word problem and see what you have. So a book costs $6 and I have $5. That's how much the book cost, and I have $5. What fraction of its cost do I have? The numerator would be 5 and the denominator would be 6. So I have 5/6 of the total cost. So what kind of fraction is that? That would be called a proper fraction. A proper fraction is one that the number is less than 1. So for example, 1/8, 3/8, all of those are less than 1. The numerator is less than the denominator. If the numerator is the same or larger than a denominator, it's greater than 1. Okay? An improper fraction is a number greater than or equal to 1. So 8/8, which is equal to 1, is improper. Or, even more common, would be like 10/8. Or 9/8, 12/8, etc. Those are improper fractions. Okay? Now, what about a mixed number? A mixed number is an improper fraction written as the sum of a whole number and a proper fraction. So, for instance, 7/3 is an improper fraction. And to rewrite that, 3 will go into 7 2 times with the 1 left. That's 2 1/3. Or 13/5, 5 will go into 13 2 times with 3 left over. That would be 3/5. Okay, so that's called a mixed number. And we'll look at that more in just a minute, okay? Now, what about writing fractions in lowest terms? So let's look at that. What if we had 30/48? So the numerator is smaller than the denominator, so it is a proper fraction. But we notice that it's 30 and 48, which is an even number, so we can reduce that, okay? So what number will go into 30 and 48? Well, 6 comes to mind to me. So that's going to equal, 6 will go into 35 times, and 6 will go into 48 8 times. So that would be 5/8. And notice it's still a proper fraction, and it's reduced. It can't reduce any further, okay? What about this one? 105 divided by 90. Well, 15 will go into both of these, and sometimes you just have to play with your calculator and see what the lowest number is, okay? 15 will go into 105 7 times, and 15 will go into 90 6 times. And again, that's reduced to as small as we can get, and it's a proper fraction, okay? So that's how you do that type. So let's do another one. If you were offered your choice between 2/3 of a certain amount of money and 5/8 of it, which would you choose? So this time we're looking at which of these fractions is larger, 2/3 or 5/8. So which would you choose if you had a choice of that amount of fractions? How do you decide? Well, the best way is to rewrite the fractions as equivalent fractions. So you need to have the bottom number to be the same. So the way we do that, we say 2/3. So what number will go into 2/3 and 5/8? So one way to do it would take 2/3 and multiply it by 8. So this would equal 2 times 8 divided by 3 times 8. So that's going to be, That's going to be 16/24. Okay. And then 5/8, you're going to multiply it by 3. So that's going to be 5 times 3 and 8 times 3. So that's going to be 15/24. So now compare the new fraction, 16/24 or 15/24. Well, as you see, 16/24 is greater than 15/24. Therefore, 2/3 is larger than 5/8. So 2/3 is larger than 5/8. 5/8. Okay? So the new denominator is the product of the original ones. 24 equals 8 times 3. Once both the fractions are written with the same denominator, the one with the larger numerator is the larger fraction. So let's look at another one. So what if we had 3/4 inches or 5/7 inches? Which one's larger? Well, again, we're going to say 3/4 equals 3 times 7 and 4 times 7 equals 21/28. And then 5/7 is going to equal 5 times 4 over 7 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. And 7 times 4 is 28. Okay? So now we check these two. Which one is larger? 21/28 is larger than 20/28. So 3/4 is larger than 5/7 of an inch. Okay? And that's how you do those. Now, since we understand how to change the numbers from mixed to improper to proper to see which fraction is larger, let's look at multiplication of fractions. So now we're going to look at multiplication of fractions. And again, all these are just reviews from the chapters. Now, we start chapter 3, we start getting into some more stuff, okay? So let's look at this. So what if we did the product of 1/2 times 1/3? How do we do that? Okay, so really all we do is we say 1 times 1 and 2 times 3. So that's going to be 1/6. So you just multiply across. So let's try another one. 5/6 times 2/3. So that's going to be 5 times 2 and 6 times 3. So that's going to be 10/18. But now notice this is not in the lowest term, is it? So what number will go into both of these? Well, 2 will go into both of these. So 2 will go into 10 5 times, and 2 will go into 18 9 times. So that reduces to 5 9ths. Always write your answer in lowest terms. Always write in lowest terms. Now, in the last homework, I've been looking and grading those. I noticed that some of you guys use pen and scribble. When you make a mistake, please use pencil, okay? Definitely on your test, use a pencil. It just, in math, it's just easier, okay? Because we all make mistakes. So try to use a pencil. Make sure you get your homework done on time. I've been kind of lenient for the first one because I'm trying to let everybody get their book. But you should all have your book by now. If you don't, please come by to see me so I can see what I can do to help you, okay? All right. So now, how do we multiply whole numbers as a fraction? So what if we had this? What if we had 6 times 1/8? Well, really all you do is 6 is the same thing as 6 over 1 times 1/8. So that's going to be 6 times 1 and 1 times 8. So that's going to be 6/8. But we know that we can reduce that, okay? So we can reduce that by 2. So that's going to be 3/4. Okay. What if we had a mixed number like this? 3 1/3 times 2 1/4. Now that's a mixed number. The way that you multiply mixed numbers, the easiest is to put it in a improper fraction. So 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10/3. Times 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9, 9/4. Reduce it if you can. So this will go into 1, this will go into 3. 2 will go into 10 5 times. 2 will go into 4 2 times. So now that's going to be 5 times 3 divided by 1 times 2. So that's going to be 15 halves. Or 2 will go into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14, so that's 1 left. So that's 7 1/2. Okay? Let's try one more. So what if we had 3 and 5/6 times 3/10? Well, again, put this one in 3 and 5/6 into a improper fraction. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 5 is 23 over 6 times 3/10. Reduce it if you can. 23 will go into, that won't work. 6 and 3 will work. That'll be 2. And this will be 1. So that's going to be 23/20. And that's an improper fraction, so we need to reduce it and make it into a mixed number. So 20 will go into 23 one time with 3 left. So that's going to be 1 and 3/20. Okay? And that's how you do multiplication of fractions. Now let's look at division. Division of fractions. Okay, with division of fractions, you got to multiply by its reciprocal. So you find the reciprocal of the following number. So what is a reciprocal? Reciprocal is just the opposite. So if we do one like 2/5, the reciprocal, write it out here so you can see it. Reciprocal is just going to be 5/2. So you just flip it, okay? The reciprocal of 7/8 is 8/7. Okay, what about a mixed number? Well, a mixed number, 2 and 1/5. First, you're going to have to put it into an improper fraction. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11/5. And then the reciprocal is going to be 5/11. Okay, so let's do some division. So for division, you're going to take your number, 2/5, divided by 4/3. So you got to do the reciprocal of the second and multiply it. So that's going to be 2/5 times 3/4. And then you say 2 times 3 divided by 5 times 4. And that's going to be 3/10. Oh, I'm sorry. This is 1 and this is 2. So 1 times 3 is 3 and 5 times 2 is 10. Got ahead of myself. Okay, 3/10. So let's do another one. What if we had 5/8 divided by 3 and 3/4? So that second one, we're going to have to put it in an improper fraction. So it's going to be 5/8 times 4 times 3 is 12 plus 3 is 15. Fourths. It's actually right now going to be division. Now we take 5/8, multiply, do the reciprocal, 4/15. That's going to be 1, this is 2, that's going to be 1, this is 3. So that's going to be 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6, 1/6. Okay, and that is the way we do fractions. Pretty simple. Fractions with division, you just multiply and take the reciprocal. Okay, now let's look at add and subtract. Add and subtraction of fractions. Again, these are just reviews. Hopefully you remember a lot of this, but if not, then you have some practice to try it out, okay? So how do we add? An example would be 1/8 plus 3/8. Notice that the denominator is the same, so that's just a simple 4/8. Reduce it, 2 will go into 4, 2 times 2 is 4, so that's going to be 1/2. Okay, 1/2. What if we had 3/12 plus 1/12 plus 5/12? Well, notice all these are, the denominators are the same, so we can just add them. So it's going to be 3 plus 1 plus 5 divided by 12. So that's going to be 9/12. 3 will go into 9 3 times. 3 will go into 12 4 times. So we had to reduce that to 3/4. Now, how do we add a mixed number? How to add a mixed number. Okay, so to do it, if you have this mixed number, 2 and 1/5 plus 3 and 3/5, the way you do that, you're going to line them up long ways, 2 and 1/5 plus 3 and 3/5. Notice that the denominators are the same, so you just add them. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 1 is 4/5. Okay, that's how you do that. Now, so you add the whole numbers separately and then add the fractions. So let's try another one. What if we had 1 and 5/8 plus 3 and 7/8? That's going to be 4. 7 plus 5 is 12. Now notice, that's going to be 4 and 12/8. Since 12/8 is greater than 1, we must simplify it. So to simplify that, what you're going to have to do is say 4 plus 12/8. 12/8. Okay, separate it out. And that's going to equal 4. Reduce that. 4 going to 12 3 times. 4 going to 8 2 times. Okay, so that made it 4 3/2. 4 plus 3/2. So then reduce it again. 4, or separate it again. 3/2. That's going to be 1. 2 are going to 3 one time with 1 left. 4 plus 1 1/2. 4 plus 1 is 5 1/2. So see, we had to go through and take that mixed number improper fraction, make it into a mixed number, and then add it. Okay? So let's try another one. What if we had 1 5/8 plus 2 1/8? That's going to be 3 6/8. And then we reduce that. 2 are going to 6 3 times. And 2 are going to 8 4 times. 3 3/4. Okay? That's another example. But what if we have fractions with different denominators, called unlike fractions? To add these type, you need to change these fractions to equivalent fractions with the same denominator. So what if we had this? What if we had 2/3 plus 3/4? Now our denominators don't match. So we got to come up with something that they have the same denominator. So what number will go into both of these? So if we take 2/3, for instance, and we know that 3 times 4, we could say it times 4, the 3/4, so that's going to be 2 times 4 over 3 times 4. That's going to be 8/12. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is 3/4, and again we have the 3 on the other one, so that's going to equal 3 times 3 over 4 times 3. So that's going to be 9/12. So now 2 3/4, 2/3, I'm sorry, plus 3/4 is going to equal 8/12 plus 9/12. And see, now the denominators match. Okay? So that's going to equal 8 plus 9 is 17/12. Well, we know that's an improper fraction, so 12 going to 17 one time with 5 left. So that's going to be 1 5/12. Okay? Let's try another one. What if we had 1/6 plus 5/8? Okay? So that's going to equal a number that goes in 6 and 8 would be 24. So 6 will go into 24 4 times. And 8 will go into 24 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. So that's going to equal 19/24. And this does not have to be reduced because it's in a proper fraction. So that's how you do that. Okay, so you got to find a common denominator. Now with subtraction, you got to find the least common denominator. You find the least common denominator. Okay, so but first, for subtraction, if they are the same denominator, you just do your subtraction. So that's going to be 3 minus 1 over 8. So that's going to be 2/8. You can reduce that. 2 will go into 2 one time. 2 will go into 8 4 times. Okay, but what if you had this? 4/5 minus 1/6. Okay, so what number will both go into 6 and 5? 30. So 5 will go into 30. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 will go into 35 times. 5 times 1 is 5. So then it's going to be 24 minus 5, which is 19/30. And again, that can't reduce anymore, so we're good. Okay? That's how you do those. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So this was an easy chapter. Your homework is going to be on pages 113 to 114. A, I want you to do 1 through 35 and just do the odd because there's quite a few in there. So just make sure you do the odd. B, I want you to do 1 through 12 all. And then C, I want you to do 1, 3, and 9 on the word problems. Okay? I will post this on Blackboard and post your homework on Blackboard. It will be due Tuesday. And be watching for chapter 3. So that's coming up next, okay? I hope you all have a good Martin Luther King Day, and I will see you next week. Thank you.